there's so many drummers. There's so many great drummers in the world. It's stupid. I mean, when I was younger, and I didn't know so much about drumming, I was kind of fascinated by Ringo Starr and Peter Criss from Kiss. And then as I got older, of course, John Bonham, Keith Moon, Mitch Mitchell, Ginger Baker. Then I started getting into, more into heavy rock. Neil Peart, Steve Smith, Steve Gadd, Vinnie Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, Dennis Chambers, Simon Phillips. I like Gavin Harrison as far as new drummers. I think he's very good. I like Thomas Lang. I think Thomas Lang's a very cool drummer. I'm also listening to, I love Tony Williams. I think Tony Williams is a great drummer. And probably the best drummer that has ever walked the face of this earth is Buddy Rich. And I watch a lot of Buddy Rich now because as I'm older, I'm 51 years old. I look at drums in a different way than I did 20 or 30 years ago. I think when I was younger, I didn't understand how good Buddy Rich was, but now I can see the hands and everything that he did. He was just an amazing player, and I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad show. And I did have a chance to see him play when I was a young man, so I'd have to say Buddy Rich. And Louis Bellson. I like Louis Bellson a lot. I listen to a lot of swing music, a lot of Frank Sinatra type stuff with Sonny Payne on drums. I listen to a lot of swing and jazz, actually. I'm not listening to heavy metal. I'm kind of bored by heavy metal because I play it, but there's just so many fantastic drummers out there. I think Jojo Meyer is a great drummer. Yeah, goes on and on. There's too many. They're everywhere.
Vabbè, i suoi batteristi preferiti erano quelli del passato, Keith Moon, Ringo Starr, eccetera, eccetera. Tra quelli attuali ama molto Kevin Harrison, Thomas Lang, e adesso ha citato pure Yo-Yo Mayer come innovazione, anche se lui continua ad ascoltare Buddy Rich, Tony Williams, ultimamente soprattutto.
You know who's a really good drummer? Enzo Tedesco. You know Enzo Tedesco? And before that, I'm into Gino Vanelli. I don't know if anybody knows who Gino Vanelli is, but the drummer Mark Craney on Brother to Brother. Mark Craney used to play with Jethro Tull. He's not alive anymore. He died of kidney failure, but is a Canadian drummer, amazing drummer, and the funk fusion feel on these records, just to the Gemini and Brother to Brother, Gino Vanelli, are fantastic. I listen to a lot of guys from the 70s. I love Steve Gadd. I like Mick Fleetwood. You know, you listen to all these drummers, they played in real time, and you can hear their drums. No Pro Tools, no bullshit, huh? That's what I like. I like to hear the real guys. Yes, sir.
Do you suggest me some exercise for double drum, double bass drum?
Do I, what with the double bass drum? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Do you suggest me some exercise?
Some exercises, yeah, sure. Okay. Yes, he asked for some ejercizio. That's hard to say. Ejercizio. Sounds like something to eat. Everything here is good to eat. Okay, well, there's a lot of things you can do with the double bass. The exercise that's in the, as a matter of fact, in this DVD, it's 2 hours long. There's so many exercises in here that you will fall asleep watching it. I've never watched the whole DVD, but there's one exercise that I'll show you that's very, very good, and I stole it from Dave Weckl. He's pretty good, you know. So I said, okay, this guy's pretty smart, Dave Weckl. I was watching his video, and he was basically just doing this. Playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I said, okay, cool, I can do that. Then he started playing triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and Then he started playing 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. So back to the eighth notes. Then you get into this triplet thing. It's kind of a 2 against 3 thing. This might mess you up a little bit. 16th notes. And a lot of people think when I'm playing double bass that I'm using my legs. It's not. I'm using the ankle. There's a technique there. You can see it in the DVD. I'm sorry it's hard to see here. Maybe I should have turned my drums, but it's the same thing when you play a double stroke roll or one roll. A lot of guys. No. I'm using the fingers. Use that snap, right? It's the same thing with the double bass. So the reason for this technique is, of course, if you're using your arms, you get tired. And it's the same thing if you're using your whole leg, you're going to run out of gas, you know? So, I mean, I can do this for a long time because I have the same technique here. Using the fingers. Okay, so this exercise, I did it with a click track, very slow, 8th notes. Then I start doing this triplets. You get that 2 against 3 polyrhythm. And then I get into the 16th notes. And that's where you get into this kind of, you get into that thing. Okay, so eventually you warm up with the right foot. Of course, your right foot is stronger. And I would play that a little faster. Triplets, 2 against 3, 16th notes, 8th notes. Triplets, 16th notes. Then I just go from triplets to 16th notes. That's a good workout. And the other thing is it grooves. If you got a click track going, I would do that for about 10, 15 minutes to warm up the right foot. The thing that Dave Weckl didn't do, because he doesn't play death metal, he didn't use his left foot. And I thought, that's silly boy. So I said, I'm going to do this exercise with my left foot. 1 and 2 and 3. There's my right foot up here in case you think I'm cheating. There it is. You got those triplets. Where your foot is on the pedal, sometimes when I'm playing the really fast stuff, I move back, okay? I don't have long boards. I'm not using this flat foot technique. I know George Callias, he'll come in here and he'll play something so fast, faster than the speed of sound. We can't hear it. Wise guy. Here we go. So I play it. You got the triplets, 16th notes. So this helps develop the left foot. Triplets. And I would do this for about 15 minutes. And as I get warmed up, I just go from the triplets to the 16th notes. Triplets. Make sure you do that with a click. And make sure you can play it quietly and loud. Both dynamics. Okay, so then after the right and left are warmed up, there's 30 minutes I'm into this already, okay? I used to spend a lot of time alone in my practice room when I lived in Los Angeles because I wanted to develop the speed and power, you know? So then I start going back and forth, alternating between the triplets, 16ths for the right, triplets, 16ths for the left. So it sounds like this. Triplets. And sometimes I just play on the rim so I could hear the bass notes. I wasn't interested in all this. You don't need the drums. You don't need all the hi-hats and stuff because sometimes that noise is distracting, you know. Then you can hear the time. So after I get warmed up, then I would just do 16th notes, 16th notes. And I do that for about 15 minutes. Then, no, I don't go out and smoke a cigarette. Keep going. I'd alternate. So I would play this. Right, left, right, left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a triplets. Triplets. That really clean. The same when you sit on your practice pad and you play. Okay? Eventually I would make that faster and faster, the whole cycle. For about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, okay? I'd be dripping with sweat at various metronome levels, okay? Then I would go 2 different rates. I would go from the 8th notes to the triplets at a higher rate, and from the triplets to the 16th notes at a higher rate. And this gets very grueling. So I would do stuff like this for the 16th notes and triplets. Do that for half an hour. And sometimes when I get into this triplet thing, when I get into this part, I'd start to play different figures. And use the down part as a break, because what happens is these muscles right here, the front, they're rock hard. I've developed those. They used to just be on fire. I would practice this for sometimes an hour and a half, 90 minutes of just double bass practice, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to sit behind my drums and go. And just pull out all that stuff. And the same thing also in a recording situation. If you're playing, doesn't really cut through in a recording situation. All the double bass that I played, all the stuff I did with Rage, I really played it. And you got to be in shape to play that crap. So all this exercise right here basically allowed me to build the technique, the power, and the stamina, so that I could play for a long time. And I spent hours. I spent about 10 years on that, doing that. I don't do it anymore. I don't practice that anymore. I practice other stuff. Now I'm practicing stuff with like double strokes involved. I have a song on the Rhythm Beast DVD. It's in 5, and it's a shuffle. And you can play a shuffle like this, right? A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1. But that didn't sound good phrased in 5. Sounded kind of, it didn't sound nice. So I wanted something that flowed more, and I was like, well, what can I do? And I started to do a right, right, left. Still a shuffle, so it sounded like this. That's a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's kind kind of a nice ostinato you could play. And if you're right-handed or you're right-footed, it's not something that's so tricky that you're going to hear all kinds of fluctuations. I'm not one of these guys that plays double strokes. Because it has a swing in it. I mean, if you want to play 16th notes in a heavy metal band, you're going to play this. You're not going to play. It has a whole different sound. It doesn't really work for heavy metal. It doesn't work for a lot of things, actually. It works good in a drum solo if you're alone. But the minute you start to combine this crazy sticking. So sometimes I'll play some kind of paradiddle, like... Mix some doubles and some singles, but most of the time I play the double with the right foot. I mean, who's going to know? Who cares? Nobody cares what foot is doing the double, you know. You can do a lot of multi-pedal effects, and you can have double strokes. You can play 5 notes with your left foot, but I mean, then isn't that what percussionists are for? I don't know. I don't play with a percussionist, but I see a lot of guys doing stuff on the drums these days they're just doing it because maybe they got a lot of spare time on their hands. I find that when I'm making records, a lot of this crazy stuff doesn't work. The best things are usually the straightest, the most powerful things, and they complement the song. A lot of times you have to remember if you're recording, especially when I'm recording with someone like Taria, she's a singer. There's not a lot of room for her. There's absolutely no room for that, actually. So, she pays me to come in and play good beats, come up with good fills that complement the music. So you have to use all this stuff tastefully. It's the same thing with this classical music. It's very easy to just play all over it and destroy it, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wrote out all the parts, and I spent a lot of time finding out what patterns would work with specific melody lines. I heard something that Dave Lombardo did, the Vivaldi, and he just played double bass all over this Vivaldi music. I think it doesn't sound right. It's not, the drums are not with the music. And I think if you're going to do something with classical music, you better be on it. You should be in the picture. So, well, with all due respect to all the guys out there doing tricky stuff and blast beats, it's all cool. But I think sometimes the double bass especially can be really misused. If you're in a situation where you shouldn't use it, or use it tastefully, I hope that answered your question. Is everyone asleep? Almost put myself to sleep. Okay. Any other questions? You want to hear some more music?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to play a few more songs, and then it's time for... What is it? Pranzo? Cena? Cena. Order di cena.